Oh, yes, I do know his pain droppers.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? This is Christian from Yaga back with another deck profile. This time with Alex. This time, what are you playing?
I converted to Shanks.
Oh my god, the last time we had a deck profile, I think you were playing Big Mom or Katakuri.
I think it was, yeah, it was either Big Mom or Katakuri.
Yeah,
it was yellow for sure.
When you topped the regional, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Man, I don't even remember.
Remember.
Well, what were we playing today, and why did you decide to land on Shanks in specific?
We decided to play Shanks because, like, in this format, when I look at like a current format, I always ask myself, like, how many bad matchups does a deck have, and like how prevalent are you gonna see them? And I think Shanks realistically has like almost like no bad matchups. Its worst matchup you can even say is still like a 50-50, maybe like a 45-55 or a 40-60. But there's not a matchup like you sit across and you're just like, wow, I lose. Kind of like how like Lucci, if it sits across like black, yellow, Luffy, you kind of go, man, I lost. Or if you're like Enel and you sit across like a Blackbeard, you're like, man, I lost. So stuff like that, like, you're not overly too worried because everything's, like I said, it's like a 50-50, 45-50.
Yeah, it's a fair matchup.
Yeah, it's the most basic meh deck. Like, there's no deck like it crushes outside of Blackbeard. You crush Blackbeard, but everything else is really close to like that 50-50 range. So I played that.
All right, nice. Well, do we want to get right into the deck profile?
Yeah, we can get into the deck profiles. I'm playing 2 of the zero cost event. The reason why I'm playing it is you play a lot of bricks, you need the counter. I'm not playing more though because it really is kind of a brick. It's only good in the counter situation, but there's been times like where you're like, man, I need a body I can summon. The next, a lot of Shanks were cutting this. It's 2 costs, 4, pop a 4 or less. But there is matchups where this cooks. This cooks Black Purple Luffy, which I actually did play in the tournament that I was in. They always will summon the 3/5 Zoro and you just pop it. It's 1 less body plus you counter. Same thing with Jinbei. They play a 5, you just minus whatever they summon and then you just pop it. Or if they have the Teach on field, you pop the Teach. Like, this card, like, just look at this card as it's a pop. Next, very generically, the 2Ks, 2 Hogos, whatever this guy is. You know, he's just another 2K, 4 of him. 4 Otamas. This one comes up a little bit more just because of the attack modifier, but it's just a 2K. And then 3 Sanjis. This card, I'll be honest, it's only in here because of Blackbeard. It's really disgusting to be able to just play this and go 7/7 into a Blackbeard right off the bat and just put him down like into a really hard spot. So that's going to be all the 2Ks and the counter cards. Next are the bodies. I like to play this deck aggressively, so I am playing the Zoros. This card comes up a lot more than you would think. It helps you swing into boards, it helps you push for games, especially if you don't have the big bodies. Or sometimes you just look at a board and you go like, hey, I need to get swings in more than like damage in because of like the number of blockers they have on the field. So this card comes in. Everybody playing Shanks, play Rouge. This card too strong, play 4. 2 Marcos. This card's meh. It pops Teach and it pops like weenie blockers. It's not really a whole lot. It can pop a 5 if you drop the Otama, but I'll be honest, more times often than not, you're better off just using Rouge as like a blocker and pop it later. 3 of the Ace. It's really good into blue. It's really good into Lucci and other decks that want to pop. Outside of that, it's just meh. Like I said earlier, a lot of the cards in here are just meh. It's the most meh deck possible. 4 Beckman. I believe in this card. This card being able to trash gets rid of Sabo. It gets rid of other problematic cards. It gets if you're staring down the 4/5 that can't be KO'd by in Blackbeard decks, or if you're just staring into like against an L, they'll have like the Shirahoshis, and you don't want to give them that life, but you also need to get rid of the blocker. Beckman is the answer to that. My second favorite card in the deck, Rayleigh. At first, I didn't really think this card was too good. I found it to be problematic more often than actually like generating like advantage. But then I saw like the amount of like if you have the 10 drop plus this, you basically clear a whole board. Or if you have like 2 of them in hand and you drop them back to back, it's like game over at that point. It's just so much advantage. 4 dragons. My favorite card in the deck, actually. Do not skimp out on dragon. Just know that, like, because you can play him, swing 9, be able to use its effect, attack 2 to your leader, swing 7, and still have 2 left over to go the event. Which is why, like, even though you play 4 of it, the Shanks, this is another one of those meh cards. Unless you're in total control, like you're just like dominating the game state, a lot of times you'd rather drop one of these. A lot of times, or even like one of the Rouges. When I was playing Black Yellow Luffy, I had like Shanks in hand, but there was no reason to drop Shanks when I needed a way to like interact with his board that wasn't just like me swinging. I dropped like 2 Rouges that turn, and on the next turn I dropped another Rouge, and that was like one of the best things I could have done. It was so disgusting. So Shanks it's an okay card. It's meh. And then finally, 2 Gol.D.Rogers. I believe in this card. I really, really do. I think if you're not playing Gol.D.Rogers, you're not playing the deck efficiently, you're not doing anything to like game state that's like really beneficial. Like, what else are you gonna drop? What else are you playing? I see people playing the Usopp. I think the Usopp sucks. I'm gonna be honest. I think if you're playing it, you're just playing to lose. Same thing with like the Rayleigh blocker, where it's just, yeah, you're doing stuff, but at the end of the day, you're not putting out like what you really, really need. Like, if you're playing Usopp, you're playing control, but like the game state as it is right now, the way people are playing, it's Sabos, it's cards that want to get pops. If you're playing against Yellow, they have the Kikonojos. If you're playing, or like Shirahoshi, it's just, it's way too difficult. And then on top of it, like, it's not staying. That 4 to 5 range, those cards ain't staying, especially if you're playing against a Lucci or you're playing against like other cards, stuff like that. And then on top of it, like, if you're on your 8 Dawn turn, or even if you're on your 6 Dawn turn, I've learned that I'm much happier if I'm playing against like Lucci. You play this or you play this, and if you have the 2 cost event in your hand and this, you're feeling so like kosher. You're not feeling like any pressure at all. Versus you play the Usopp and it's like, okay, it's very, very, very mediocre. So I cut the Usopps for the Gol.D.Rogers, because once again, you can just swing super heavily into your opponent. And even if you want to say that like, oh, I'm not going to get this effect off, you can kind of bait your opponent to where, let's say they have 2 life and they just don't want to swing into your board. Just take every hit, counter the one that you can't hit. Now you're at 0 life, and you just look at your opponent and go like, well, now I have a board of, let's say, a Gol.D.Rogers, a Shanks, a Dragon, maybe you have another Dragon in hand, maybe a Beckman. So you have like so much swings, and your opponent goes, well, I have 5 cards in hand, 6 cards in hand, plus 2 life. This dropping by itself is usually game.
Got you. And the Zoro is very unorthodox of most Shanks lists. I haven't really seen a lot of Zoro being in there.
It's because like they're playing the 1 cost searcher, which if you're playing the 1 cost searcher, then you more often than not, you kind of have this issue where I've had it where I was testing it, and a lot of times like you would see like, maybe you see the Shanks or maybe you see like the Rouge, but then you're bottom decking like 2 dragons, or you're bottom decking like a lot of like the necessary cards where you're just like, that's so good. Same thing with the Rayleigh. If you bottom deck the Rayleigh, you're just like, wow, that sucks. And it's just, when I was testing it, it didn't gather enough resources that I really wanted. I'd rather just, if I see it, I see it. I don't want to bottom deck it. I fear like, the fear of God is in me whenever I think about playing that and I bottom deck. I've seen people where they're playing Black Yellow Luffy, they play the 1-drop searcher, and they bottom deck like 2 geckos or 3 geckos, and you're just like, wow, you just lost the game right there. I've done that when I was playing Yellow, and I'd go putting, and I see 2 or 3 big moms in there, and it's like, well, I gotta take 1. Now I know 2 big moms are going to the bottom deck I'm never seeing, so I'm probably playing like 1 big mom this game, and I probably lose that game. So I wasn't cutting that, and I needed something to like replace it, and I'd rather just have the pure aggression that Zoro has, because it lets you, like, if you're going first, it lets you just swing 5, play this, swing 5. And there's a lot of 4-life decks that you do kind of want to get aggressive with. One of them that I'm going to shout out is Blue-Green Sanji. It's one of the decks I played against. and you need to like get aggressive with their life and put them on basically like I can kill you in a moment's notice if you do not address my board, which means that they're no longer taking care of like your life, so you can like survive up into like the late stages. So then you can drop Rayleigh on them or Beckman, and you start like hitting their like actually good cards, and then you just start swinging into their board, and now they're gonna feel compelled to like address you. Another one is that purple black Luffy deck, same thing, where if you're not respecting it, you're getting crushed. Purple Luffy, another deck where they like to take their own life, but they don't want to take any more life and get too aggressive. So if you go first, you swing 5/5 into them. They may take one hit because they don't want to pitch 2 cards, but if they do pitch 2 cards, then you look at it as like from a card advantage standpoint. I break 2 cards out of my opponent's hand, he's going to draw for turn, take a life. Well, that's a lot better than him just pitching 1 card or just taking the free life and then just going, alright, effect. So I'd rather get rid of the cards. In the early game state, I like getting rid of cards. And that's why I play Zoro.
Alright, and then you were mentioning blue-green Zoro Sanji that you played yesterday in your rounds. What were the other decks, and how did you face off against them?
I played 2 Dofi. Dofi's hard if you don't see Rayleigh. If you see a single Rayleigh, Dofi becomes like relatively easier. I do know Usopp kind of helps with that, but it's the same issue of like, alright, if they do something just to get rid of it, or if they go too wide, now you're spending your turns on just dropping like Marcos or like Beckmans instead of dropping like, you can drop Rayleigh, Shanks, one of these cards, or even like multiple Zoros, Dragon. Like you're playing cards that actually like, they're harder to out and they do more. And on top of it, I'd rather just have that than, you know, just drop a Usopp for a 5 when you can just, like I said, you're playing against Dofi, you just drop Rouge and have the 2-cost event in your hand and you just go, I'm kosher. So I played 2 Dofis, I played the purple-black Luffy, and then I played against black-yellow Luffy as well. And then the green-blue Sanji.
And then what was your toughest matchup out of the 5?
It was black-yellow Luffy, but only because he dropped like, one, he's a really good player, I'll shout him out. Horton's one of the best players that I know. Same with Pyro, who was playing like the blue-green Sanji. But to be fair to the blue-green Sanji player, the black-yellow Luffy player dropped 4 geckos on me, and because of that, it kept the game much closer than what it really should have been. Versus when you're playing against blue-green Sanji, if you do not, and this is like one of those decks where if you do not know what the deck does and you have no experience by it, and you show up to a regional and you see it, you lose. You will lose to that deck. It pumps out 3 9s, like 3 9k swings relatively easily. It can put out a board, and it has like a lot of like ways to like keep hand advantage, and then they just also play the Holy Jones. So if you're not ready for it, you get clapped by that deck. So that deck, when I sat across from it, it gave me the real fear. Versus black yellow Luffy, let's just be honest, it's a 1-card deck. It's a gecko deck. But that's most black decks in general.
Fair. And then out of this current list that you ran, even after winning, is there anything that you would change ratio-wise? Is there anything that you would cut, replace, maybe keep testing different with?
I'd probably cut 1 Sanji. I just don't know what for.
Particularly 1 Sanji?
Yeah, it's the only play, because like it's only good into like the, outside of being a 2k counter, it's only really good into the black yellow, or not black yellow, it's only good into Blackbeard. But if I had to pick a card, maybe the 9 rush ace, so that way I have a rush on 9. That's like the same thing, like it helps like get rid of blockers. Or even I've thought about playing the 10-11 Luffy, that rusher, because that way if they do block, you pop an 8k. So it gives you like, so if you have like the Shanks on board, you know what's at 8k if you swing? Gecko. It outs Gecko. Without having to swing into it. So if they block for it, so they have to counter for it. So I thought about that, low-key. I've been like...
As a one-off, like if you see it, you see it?
Yeah. Like, I'll be honest. So that would probably be the next thing I test, is I'm going to test that Luffy. And, yeah.
Alright, well, I guess that's everything. Congratulations again for the topping list. Winning first place, especially after 5 rounds of back-to-back meta decks, isn't anything to scoff at. So
Yeah.
congrats. And then what'd you win for that?
We got the first place was the PSA 10 mono. Is it the mono Luffy?
The mono purple?
Yeah, mono purple Luffy.
Oh yeah, from the magazine.
Yeah, for the magazine. Yeah.
Damn, that's sick. Did you keep it?
No.
Aw, tragic.
I hate you. You are all bad players. You suck. You suck. My penis is large.
Takes you